Hello, folks. Well, I'm not sure we have anybody on with us quite yet.
Well, it's possible that with school, their mornings are looking a little different than they have.
Exactly. We've got 3 people with us this morning. Good morning. Good morning. I'm Jen. That's Laura. I think most of you probably know us.
Hello, folks.
We've got Cole behind us and Lydia.
Folks.
There's Maxwell. Hey, Margo, can you say hello, folks? So Lydia's with us this morning. Good morning, Lydia.
Hello,
Good morning.
We are starting our first day of school today, so it's been an interesting day here. Oh, and Olivia's here. Hi, Olivia. We loved seeing your pictures that you sent. Thank you so much. You are a fantastic cook. Your eggs looked amazing. So we're going to wait a few more minutes for a few more folks to join us.
Hello,
On the granola that we made a couple of, I was going to say weeks ago, but just days.
It's just days. Feels like
It's only been days.
on Thursday.
Then, while we wait for people to join, what was the highlight of your weekend?
Oh,
Mommy,
that's a good
what's
question.
this?
That is a puffed rice.
Oh.
The highlight of my weekend.
We went to Alabama.
We did not go to Alabama.
Mommy,
Oh,
we went to San Francisco.
Oh, well, we've been doing these Zoom meetings, and we have,
And we went to San Francisco by virtue.
and we went to the moon.
Yeah, we went to the moon. We went to San Francisco. We went to our backyard.
Yeah,
In the ground.
yeah. Not right now, but maybe on the call later we can when we call with Grandma. We actually went on Friday evening, that beautiful night. We went to Ender's Island.
Oh, nice.
Walked around. It was gorgeous. Oh,
Yeah.
look, we have Julia, so I think.
Hey, Julia.
Well, how about the highlight of yours?
On Saturday, we hiked Lantern Hill, which was really fun. It was, I don't know if you've been there before. It was like just the right amount of challenge for our family. That was really fun. And we got to see some like hawks and lots of bugs and rocks. So that was fun.
That's easy.
That sounds great. Well, I think we have a crowd. We've got
Stop camera.
no, that's a different program altogether. That's not a thing. We can do another time. So it looks like we've got David and Amelia here. We've got Cammie and Cora. And I hear that Olivia and Amy said they took lots of walks and bike rides and waving to neighbors. Yes, we did this. We've done a lot of waving to neighbors, right?
Which is boring.
No, it's not as fun as actually playing with neighbors, but it's something.
Yeah.
Okay, I think we're ready to start. So today we thought, for us, it's the first day back at school. And so this is an activity that we love to do.
Mommy.
Yeah.
Wait, smell
You can stir that quietly over there. It's an activity we like to do in our classes because you get to do a couple things. You get to write a recipe, which has surprisingly a lot of math in it. And you get to do some chemistry. So we're going to learn about both of those things today.
Tell them what we did this morning with the dominoes.
Oh, Cole would like to tell you one more thing before we start.
We made a Rube Goldberg.
We were he made with a Hot Wheels car that went into dominoes and a marble.
No, it went in a loop and 2 loop-de-loops. Then it hit a domino. Then it made the a marble move to hit more dominoes to make those fall down.
Yeah. Okay. So here's what we're gonna do. Oh, and Grandma Helene is here too.
My grandma.
So we're gonna make a vinaigrette or salad dressing today, which is so easy. But what we're gonna do is we're gonna kind of. Oh, and sorry, Laura. One more thing. Laura and Margot got a hello from Linda.
Oh, my mom?
Yeah.
Wow, Mom, I'm impressed.
Mom was watching.
Banana.
Pressure's on. Okay. So we're gonna make a vinaigrette, and when we make a vinaigrette, there's some basic recipe or basic sort of parts to it. So I'm gonna do a quick batter here. I should have done this earlier. So there's going to be an acid and an oil.
Oils.
Okay.
Science, baby.
Science, baby. That's right. So there's acid and oil. So acid can be things like vinegar. So we have.
If you put a color into it, it doesn't. It stays the color, but like.
Is that for one of your science things when you learn about acids?
Yeah, and oil and oils. If you put like, let's say, food coloring in it, it'll change colors.
Oh, okay. So we have acids. Other acids that you could have are things like lemons or limes, right? So these are all sort of your acid, and that's going to be the base of your. What's that?
Often, things that if you taste them, are going to make your face pucker up.
Yeah. Buttermilk is another one, so you could absolutely use buttermilk if you wanted to for your acid, but it's going to be your base. Boys, can I have you sit down?
But you said I could have.
You can have some water. So we're going to start with an acid, and then you're going to add your oil. But what happens when you mix a liquid like vinegar with oil? Does it stick together or does it stay separate?
Mommy, here's the menu.
What do you think? Together or separate?
Here's the menu.
What do you guys think? When you mix a liquid with oil, what happens, Cole? Does it mix together or does it stay separate?
Mom, is this H? Wait, Mom. Wait, is this H?
No, that's a T. But I'm going to put this down. Are you going to come into my class or do you want to go play? 1 second, kiddos.
So, yeah, we just dove in here because we can't wait for dressing. When we were getting ready for this class, I was thinking of a book that I had several years ago called Make the Bread, Buy the Butter. Have you ever heard of that book, Jen?
Oh, I haven't heard that one.
So essentially it's like talking about things that are worth doing yourself at home and things that you should just, save yourself the trouble. It talks about like how bread is something that, is actually once you learn quite easy to do at home and is worth doing. And salad dressing is one of those things for me that like.
Totally. Once you start making your homemade salad dressing, it's like, why did I ever buy it? Yeah. Okay, so you're going to start with an acid and you're going to add oil to it. Now, Marion was right, and Cami and Cora said that they don't mix, right?
Yeah, I said that.
Yeah, they don't mix unless you shake it. But even if you shake it, eventually it just kind of they sit on top of each other. Let me get you a cup so we can see what's going to happen here. Hold on. All right.
Just gonna mix it.
Okay, so I added, let's see if I added enough. I added oil and water, but maybe what I'll do is I'll do a little bit of colored water. Let me find my food coloring and grab that. So let's see, guys.
We're gonna add that next.
No, I don't want to do my food.
You can do that.
Okay.
No, cool.
Oh, no, not there. We're gonna go right here. We're gonna go right here. This one.
I want to pour some.
Okay, so I'm gonna add it to my oil and see what happens here.
Mommy!
Okay. Oh, can you go wash your hands, please? Thank you. All right, so can we see what happened? I added oil and then I added green water.
You have like 2 layers?
So the green went to the bottom. So the oil is going to float on top of the vinegar or the water, whatever acid you're using. And if you shake it up, it'll mix together, but eventually it settles back down again.
And put more food coloring. It'll make layers and layers.
That's right. And so if you wanted, can you sit down here for me? So if you wanted to make your vinaigrette stick together, you're going to add another ingredient that's going to help the acid and the oil stick together. So come here so you can start picking your acids and your oils. So and that's going to be called an emulsifier. And I'm going to add that up as a banner. So your emulsifier. Emulsifier.
Soy sauce.
Oh, you do? That's going to be good. An emulsifier is going to help it combine. So, some examples. You put that one in the sink and then grab a new one. An emulsifier is going to be something like, you could use mayonnaise. You could use mustard. You could use syrup. It's actually blueberry syrup. That could be really interesting. You could use jelly. One of our cooks, Will, always adds jelly to his vinaigrette, and it makes it delicious.
Yeah, I thought that was a great idea.
And so you're going to add your acid, your oil, and your emulsifier. And then the last thing that you decide to add are any seasonings that you want. So seasonings are going to be salt and pepper. You could add some herbs. So I actually have some chives that I found in my backyard garden that came back. I have some thyme that overwintered. You could add soy sauce as a flavoring.
Maxwell loves it with rice.
Yeah. And so you could do like a soy sauce one. I have some sesame oil that could work. And so the first thing we're going to do,
put it back in here.
Boys, the first thing we're going to do, Cole, you can go get another piece of ice. The first thing we're going to do is we're going to make our recipe, okay? So grab a pen. And Cole, you grab a pen. What color are you going to use? Maxwell, what color pen are you going to use? I'm going to get you another one. I'll get you this.
Mommy, that was not him.
Oh, here's your pen. Here's your pen. Okay, so the first thing you're going to write are your ingredients. So ingredients are spelled. I'm going to write it up here so that you can write the word ingredient.
Mom, I want to write it. Mom, I want to write it.
You know how? Tell me how to spell. Okay, can you spell it?
I just want to write it. I just want to write it. Go back.
Go ahead and write it in. Okay. Okay, Cole's going to write the word ingredient. So we're going to write it on the top of our paper.
A little bit more. And Jen, while you're doing that, I didn't have any fresh herbs, so I was kind of like scrounging around in the kitchen, thinking what I could include. And I do have a dried orange peel. I read something. You could dry them and then zest them once they're dry. Yeah. So I saved a few. And we're gonna zest. Oh, we're gonna zest some orange.
That's a great idea.
There.
You're close, Cole. We're gonna change that to an E.
Oh yeah.
And then we're good. Good job. Okay. Now, can you go write that on your paper? Okay. So you're gonna write ingredients on your paper, and that's gonna be on the top. And here's where you're gonna start writing out what you want to add as your ingredients. So you're gonna choose your acid, your oil, and you can use more than one kind of oil. So for example, I have some sesame oil that if you were going to use soy sauce, you might do a little bit of sesame and a little bit of another kind of oil. So now's the time to start putting your recipe together. So let's make a decision. Maxwell, what kind of vinegar or acid are you going to use? No, you didn't. You're good. Let's take a new newspaper. What are you guys going to do? Let's hear from the crowd and hear what kind of ingredients you're going to add to yours.
Okay, so while those are coming in, we use red wine vinegar as the acid.
Okay.
Olive oil as the oil. And then we're making a honey mustard vinaigrette. We added both honey and mustard.
Okay.
As emulsifiers.
Nice.
Also
Okay, so I'm going to use mine. I think I'm going to do, I'm actually going to use apple cider vinegar. What are you going to use as yours? So I'm going to write down apple cider vinegar. I'm going to use.
Here, I'll put it on the plate instead of on the table.
I'm actually going to try this blueberry syrup. This blueberry syrup is from Oxford, New York. And Liz, if you're watching later, we're going to try some of this. You're going to use blueberry syrup? Okay. I'm going to use my syrup. That's going to be my emulsifier. And I'm going to do salt and pepper. And I think that's going to be it for olive oil as well. And we have Capizano olive oils wrote up this morning, and I wanted to mention that they are a local store that you can order online from and do pickup, and they're wonderful. Their oils are really good. So if you're looking for medicinal oils, that'd be great. So I'm going to add olive oil, and I think I'll do chives as well. I don't know how that will work with blueberry, but we're going to see.
I mean,
I have Nancy, Aunt Nancy.
Mommy, what about mine?
Well, you have to decide what you're going to use.
What's this again?
This is red wine vinegar, mayonnaise.
How do you spell that?
You can just do MAYO.
I didn't know.
And what are you going to use? Is you have to pick a vinegar.
Apple cider.
Apple cider vinegar, okay. I see that Marin's using sherry vinegar, rosemary, maple syrup, and olive oil. That's from Cora. And Olivia's using olive oil, red wine vinegar, and maple syrup. Wonderful. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to measure your...
You almost can't mess this up. Like, I've tried so many different combinations, and it's good.
It's so true. So what you want to start doing now is writing down the amount of your that you're putting in. So you want to measure it so that you know.
Can I go?
Yeah.
Can I start?
You can. So you want to measure it so that you know how much to do the next time when you make your recipe. So I have my ingredients, and I'm going to be adding in my quantities in just a moment. Yes. So start with you're actually going to start with you're going to start with your vinegar. And what you want to do is you want to do 1 part acid and start with 1 part of your oil. Usually I go 2 to 1. So usually I do 1 part acid and 2 parts oil. But it's really up to you, and it depends on how. Yeah, 1 second, sweetheart. And I'm going to just write this up. So we do 1 part acid, 2 parts oil. And what that means is if you use 1 tablespoon of your acid, then you use 2 tablespoons of your oil. So why don't you start with 1 tablespoon of your acid? Maxwell, come on over here because you're going to use apple cider vinegar. So we'll start with tablespoons, and you can always add more. And Cole, what you're going to want to do is you're going to write down how much you use. Good job. Maxwell, would you like to measure yours in?
Uh-huh.
And I think maybe we'll do 2 tablespoons, actually. So that means.
I'm going to do it.
You pour that in? Yeah, we're going to do 1 more tablespoon. So if we're using 2 tablespoons of vinegar, then how much oil do you need? 2 tablespoons of vinegar, if it's 1 part acid and 2 parts oil, and we're using 2 of vinegar, then how much oil do we need?
Well, that's a good math question.
Soy sauce.
People's brains are turned on this morning.
Mom, right? Soy sauce.
Oh, Marin's would do some parsley.
Mom, add my soy sauce.
Oh wow, Olivia's is using green limonado fused olive oil from Capizano's. That's wonderful.
Mommy.
Yeah,
So the answer is, I'm going to answer this question, Cole. If you use 1 tablespoon of vinegar, how many tablespoons of oil do you need?
1.
So it's 1 vinegar, 2 tablespoons. So if you're using 2 tablespoons of vinegar, then how many tablespoons of oil do you need?
What?
If you're using 2 tablespoons of vinegar, then how many tablespoons of oil do you need?
3.
You're going to times it by 2.
4.
Right, so 2 times 2 is 4. So it's always 1 part acid, 2 parts oil, which means you times the vinegar amount by 2. So if you're going to use 3 tablespoons of vinegar, then you're going to use 6 tablespoons of oil. Okay, so before you add your oil, you want to add your emulsifier and your seasoning. So I was going to do. You're not going to do any seasonings. Well, your salt is a seasoning. Your syrup is a seasoning. Or is your emulsifier actually? So I'm going to add 9 tablespoons of oil there. Okay. So Cole, let's start for the blueberry syrup. We're going to add maybe like a half a teaspoon. Did you write down how much vinegar you used? Not opening. We might not be able to use the blueberry syrup because I can't open it.
It's sealed shut. Well, don't mind us.
I got it. A little extra strength this morning. So I'm going to add, I'm going to start over here. I'm going to do a half a teaspoon of it. This is my emulsifier. And it's really up to you how much you want to use. But I would start with a small amount.
Yeah.
Not too much. So that's probably like 3/4 of a teaspoon. Actually, you're using your soy sauce, right? So we'll add about a teaspoon.
It's all together.
That's okay.
Yeah.
Do you want to pour that in? Go ahead and pour that in. All right, so I used a tablespoon of vinegar. So I'm going to write that in here, 1 tablespoon. And we used a half a teaspoon of syrup. Yeah, you sure can, Maxwell. And we're going to add some salt. This is a good time to add your salt, and you always want to start with just a little bit. Would you want to use salt or soy sauce? Because they're going to do the same thing.
Soy sauce.
A little soy sauce? Okay. Here's some soy sauce. Start with maybe a half a teaspoon to start, and then you're going to taste it after you stir it, and then you can always add more. Good.
No,
So write that down.
Mom, I stirred it.
And I'm going to do about...
Can I taste it now?
Sure, you can dip your fingers in. Woo, because this is yours. I added too much salt.
Okay, I'll taste
I'm going to do about a half a teaspoon of salt. And I'm going to write that down. Half a teaspoon of salt. Well, first you're going to taste yours because yours may be salty enough.
Mine is so good.
Maxwell, do you want to add any sweetness to yours, like any honey or...
I want to add blueberry syrup.
You want some blueberry syrup? Ooh, blueberry syrup and soy sauce. This is going to be interesting.
This is good.
Okay, we're getting good reviews.
the limits of my theory that you can't mess it up.
Okay. So we just had a blueberry syrup. Do you feel like you need a little salt?
Mommy, could I stir it again?
You sure can.
And then I
Also, crushed a clove of garlic and mixed it.
taste it again.
You can taste it again. I'm going to add a little pepper to mine. So I'm just going to do,
Wait, Mom, what are we making?
I'm going to say pepper to taste. And that's a way to say it. Like you can add a lot of pepper.
Mommy, what are we making?
This is called a vinaigrette or salad dressing.
This isn't salty.
Well, make sure yours is stirred all the way. So sometimes if you don't get it stirred all the way. All right, so I'm going to get mine stirred. And this is when you want to taste it and see what you think.
Not right now, but you can come say hi to Max.
This is sweet, then salty, then like
Nicole is saying it's sweet and then salty
then bitter.
and then bitter. I'm going to add a little bit of chives to mine. Oh, you know what you could also add is garlic. Now, if you're going to add garlic or shallots to your dressing, one of the things that's a good tip
Mom,
is...
this needs more vinegar.
Hold on one second, okay? Let me explain this, and then we'll add some
I
more
need
salt.
salt.
Okay, we'll add a little salt in a second.
Oh my goodness.
If you want to add garlic or shallots, one of the things you can do is add your garlic or your shallots to your vinegar and let it sit for a little. And the flavor from your shallot and your garlic will infuse the vinegar, but it also will mellow out some of the spiciness. So it's a good idea to add it to your vinegar and let it sit for a couple minutes before you keep going. Okay. Right, food coloring. I'm going to add my chives. Do you want any herbs in yours?
What?
Do you want any herbs in yours? Maxwell, do you want any herbs in yours?
No.
Okay.
I need
And you're
salt.
feeling like you need a little bit more, vinegar?
Yeah.
It's pretty vinegary. You're going to like it like that. I think we're good.
Mommy, I need more syrup.
You want it a little
That's
sweeter?
Yeah, it's not.
All right. So now if we add another teaspoon, then you have to write that down that you added a teaspoon. So it's actually 2 teaspoons.
Salty and mine's not
You want a little bit more salt? Okay, we're adding a little more salt.
and I need syrup.
Oh, right, you're gonna add some syrup. Okay. Woo! Okay.
Now
That already went in, Maxwell. So go ahead and stir yours up.
I don't need red wine.
And we'll add. Well, okay, you're gonna do 1 more tablespoon. That's enough, sweetie. Okay. Okay, because we won't want too much.
Spilled on my ingredients.
Well, that's okay. We'll have to rewrite it anyways. Okay, so we are just about ready here. Oh, you added mustard. Marion, mustard is a fantastic emulsifier. And what an emulsifier means is that it actually helps the liquid and the oil to bind together and to stay as a full, to make it so that it doesn't separate. And so I'm gonna actually go to banners and remove this. Okay, so now we're at the point of adding our oil.
Mine's really good.
Awesome. Okay. And I'm actually going to use I'm going to use a different oil here.
Mom,
Use
can I
this
just throw this away?
Sure. And you can actually, but keep it because you want to keep the notes. Okay. So I'm going to add, I did pepper to taste and I did like 2 chives chopped.
Oh my God, that
Okay.
was so good.
And then we're going to start adding our oil. And since I did 1 tablespoon of the vinegar, I'm going to actually just do 2 tablespoons of the oil.
Wait, Mom, I need oil.
So we're going to do these one at a time, okay? Let me start with mine. I'm going to show you. So instead of dumping it all in, which you can do, and I'm going to put mine down a little bit. It's a good idea to let it to let it drizzle in.
Oh yeah, I really need oil.
And to whisk as you are drizzling it. What you're doing here is you're causing the vinegar and the oil to come together and all the flavors to be together. And it looks like, to be honest, that I may need more of an emulsifier. Although, yeah, I'm going to add your oil in just a second. You guys are going to do the drizzling. Okay. And can you see how mine is actually now starting to come together as a vinaigrette? So you want to whisk until it's all together. And what you'll see, especially if you added something like mustard or mayonnaise, is it starts to get kind of thick. Because you're adding air, you're mixing them together, and you're creating
I need oil.
one liquid ingredient. So mine needs a little bit. Mine needs a little bit more. So that was 2 tablespoons. I'm actually going to go up to 3. Mine tastes a little bit too vinegary for my liking. So I'm going to do 3.
Mommy.
And again, this is completely up to you and your taste, what you like the most. Okay, you guys ready to go on your vinaigrette?
I need oil.
Mine's tasting good. I'm going to go to comments.
Here, I'll help you.
Okay.
Oil, Mom. I need it. I need oil.
Okay, we're going to do a little bit of olive oil more because you have a lot. I'm going to use a little bit of
I need.
vegetable oil. So here's your whisk.
Mommy, I need.
Ready? Hold it in the top.
Okay.
And go ahead and start whisking.
Okay, come on over here. Yeah, you can show Nana.
And hold on one second. I'm going to get the other oil because we have. Yeah. Okay. So that was about a tablespoon. Here we go on 2 tablespoons.
Well, Nana is watching you, but you can't see her. You can say
2 tablespoons.
Mom, I need help.
And I'm going to do 1 more. And I'm going to show you 1 second. So the more you whisk, and one of the tricks for whisking with kids is to have your whisk always touching the bottom of the bowl. Maxwell, 1 second. I'm going to come to your next, okay? So you keep whisking there. I'll get you guys spoons to test out.
It has a green thing.
Oh, did you get a chive in there?
Yeah.
Okay, we can get the chive out. Okay, so Cole's going to do some whisking, and now Maxwell's ready to whisk. Ready?
And then put it
Yeah. And when we're going to taste it. How's everybody doing out there?
So, Margot.
Oh, and you know what? Olivia wants to say hi to Nana and Papa watching in Michigan. Oh, wonderful. Well, let's get some spoons and taste.
So, yeah, we made ours early on, and then Margot ate about a cup and finished, dipped into that dressing. So I'd say it was a success. Pretty good.
I missed that, Laura. What did you say?
Oh, I was saying I wouldn't say we followed proper technique, but we mixed all our ingredients in pretty quickly.
Mommy, is it Thanksgiving?
Um,
she ate almost a whole bowl of spinach dipped into that dressing. So I
will tell you that Maxwell here doesn't eat a lot of green things, But when he makes his own vinaigrette, all of a sudden everything tastes like his vinaigrette, and he loves it. And can you see Maxwell's actually is looking? I don't know if you can see how that's got really kind of thick.
Right.
That's where the emulsifier really works. And so his is really emulsified and nice and thick. Yeah, you want to taste it? So once you've done your olive oil, so I did 3 tablespoons of olive oil. And so you then are going to write, the next thing you're going to write after your ingredients is you're going to write your directions or your method. It's not that different actually than a science report. If you've ever had to do a science report, you write your method for your experiment here. And so you're going to write down what you did. So Cole, can you tell me what you guys did first? So what if I was going to write
2 tablespoons, 1 tablespoon.
So we already did the ingredients. So now we're going to tell them what to do.
Can I just lick off this?
You can taste it.
Oh.
You can play the other one. You sure can lick it off. So your directions are going to be like add vinegar. And if anybody wants to share a direction they are writing, add vinegar,
Add
syrup, salt, and pepper to bowl and whisk.
Mom, can I just dip my finger in Nutella?
No.
I can flip it over for you. You can do a picture on that.
And then number 2, so that's my first step, is add vinegar, syrup, salt, pepper
Colored on.
to bowl and whisk. And then number 2 is going to be slowly drizzle olive oil into bowl and whisk until combined. Right, Cole, thank you. So there we go, is the instructions. So one of the fun activities that could be a follow-up, and Cora and Cammie sampled with bread. Actually, that's a great idea. You guys can keep playing over here if you want. Let me get my bread.
And tell me when I can
You guys can go play over there if you want. For a little bit.
what's
This is a little bit of bread for sampling. I'm going to sample all 3 of ours.
Yeah, something that we've done before when we have like different groups at the Yellow Farmhouse is have sort of a competition. So if there are multiple kids in your house who are able to do this activity, you can have their own vinaigrette and then have a taste test maybe where somebody is the judge, or you can make the vinaigrettes and then when everyone comes home for dinner tonight, have the competition. I think that would be a fun way to
Totally.
Yeah.
And so the other thing that you can do, there's a couple of extensions here if you want to extend this lesson. So once you've made your vinaigrette and you've written your ingredients, you can do a couple of things here. Yeah, so I have a couple like that. There's a couple of options here. So one of the things that you can do is you can write it nicely on a card or a piece of paper, and then you can start to decorate it with I love Jacques Pepin, who is a friend of the Yellow Farmhouse and the farm, has this wonderful book where he's decorated the borders of paper and he writes down all of his menus from different meals that his family has had, usually special meals that they've had. And they're these beautiful borders. And so I love that idea. I'm doing a really quick one where you could make a border on your paper. To make, and this is obviously very messy, but you could redo it and make it really beautiful, nice handwriting, and do your borders. Another option is that you could challenge your sister or your brother or your parent to make the dressing using your recipe and let you know if anything was confusing, because then you might be able to see whether or not your directions were written in a way that people can really understand them. So for example, add vinegar, syrup, salt, pepper to bowl and whisk. Maybe I needed to be more descriptive, like whisk until fully combined, or it says slowly drizzle olive oil into bowl. If I didn't say like whisk, then maybe people would just be like, all right, I'll just put the olive oil in.
Or even like the tip Jen gave about letting the garlic mellow before combining it with everything else. I think that's something we probably would benefit from, because this is definitely like a very assertive garlic flavor. But you know what? We're all stuck in the house together. So if we all eat it, we can't offend anyone with our terrible garlic breath.
Yes. And right. And then you can make adaptations. And another extension that you could do is you could double the recipe. So then you start to do some math. So if you're using 1 tablespoon of apple cider vinegar, you're now going to use 2 tablespoons. And instead of a half a teaspoon, if you're going to double that, you're going to get a full teaspoon. You can start to do some math with fractions and doubling. You can triple the recipe and then see if you can if you can write the whole recipe as a triple of what it is in the first form. And so again, I'm going to write down so that we have it in our banners, a recipe for a vinaigrette. So if you remember, it's 1 part acid, 2 to 3 parts oil, and you're going to pick an emulsifier and seasoning. And that is really it when you're making a vinaigrette. So you can go really however you want to go here. You can kind of go crazy in terms of how you want to make your vinaigrette. I did one recently with soy sauce, sesame seeds, sesame oil, a little bit of honey, and it was absolutely delicious. You can use this on salad greens, but you can also add it. We actually don't have any salad greens in the house right now, so I think we'll probably add ours to some white beans and make a really quick white bean salad. You could
salad.
What's that?
A pasta salad.
Oh, add it to a pasta salad would be delicious. You could add it to drizzle it on top of like fish or steak, on top of a sandwich. So really flexible. Put it into a jar. If it separates at all, just shake it back up again. And if you make it at the end of the week, you have salad dressing for the whole week.
So like I said, I think this is one that once you kind of get the hang of the basic ratios, you can start like playing around and iterating on it, and you will never be without salad dressing. As long as you keep your pantry stocked with some very basic staples, the sky's the limit.
Yeah. And Nancy wrote that she would also add it to her baked chicken, which would be delicious. Absolutely. Drizzle it over chicken or shrimp or fish would be great. And I love, Olivia, I'm so glad yours is delicious. I'd love to see everybody's recipes when they're done to see how creative you got with what you had in your pantry. And it's fun because you really can kind of look into your pantry. You could add capers. You could add olives. I love to add garlic. I didn't do it this time, but garlic is one of my favorites to put into these dressings. So thank you all so much. I hope back to school is going well for everybody. We started back here and it's going okay.
Well, we're on day 5 of potty training in this house, and it is also
how is that going?
Okay. Some days better than others, but generally we're on the right path. We're getting there.
I will be thinking of you guys. Margot, it was so fun to see you today. Did you like the dressing? Did you like what you made?
Yeah, she did quite a bit. So we'll have some for our lunch today. We're
going to do a quick bean salad over here for lunch. So.
Bye.
Goodbye, Margot. It was nice to see you. I missed you this weekend. You say bye? Maxwell wants to say a quick goodbye as well.
Goodbye.
Oh, because we are. Hold on. There we go. Come. So it's
Bye.
Bye, everybody.
Nice to see you. We'll see
you tomorrow, everyone. Thanks.
Adios.
Bye.
On the way, guys.